Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis with the final part of Codex Analysis Astra Militarum. This is episode 7 and today we'll be looking at the heavy support section as well as getting my final thoughts on the Codex as a whole and how it stacks up compared to Codex Imperial Guard, which I actually reviewed right at the beginning of my time on YouTube. So, the first unit in the heavy support is the ubiquitous Leman Russ battle tank. It is BS3, front armor 14, side armor 13, rear armor 10 with 3 hull points. It costs 150 points and is armed with a heavy bolter, searchlight, smoke launchers and a battle cannon. A battle cannon is of course 72-inch range, strength 8 AP3 and ordnance 1 large blast. Pretty standard. There's nothing really to complain about with the Leman Russ. It's just good. I mean, I've used it countless times and it's very rarely let me down. And ordnance gives it a outside chance of doing some damage to tanks, but don't bank on it because it's only AP3. You then have 6 variants. The Exterminator, which is 20 points cheaper at 130, and packs the Exterminator autocannon, which is basically a 4-shot twin-linked autocannon. 48-inch range, strength 7 AP4, heavy 4, twin-linked. Other than that, it's identical. I should also point out that all Leman Russes are heavy vehicles. Now, I'm not sure what the rule is for heavy, because they used to have the rule lumbering behemoth, which allowed them to fire ordnance weapons more efficiently. I'd have to go and do a little bit more research into what heavy vehicles actually are and what differentiates them from regular vehicles, as I know you can't fire ordnance weapons on the move normally, but I think Leman Russes might be able to. Anyway, the next Leman Russ is the Vanquisher. Again, identical stat line, and 5 points more expensive than an Exterminator, so 135 points. And it's armed with a Vanquisher battle cannon. This is 72-inch range again, strength 8, AP2, heavy 1, armor bane. It's your anti-tank shell, and is your most reliable tank-killing weapon in the book, because strength 8 armor bane is better than strength 9 without. They're both AP2, and this has a longer range than a las cannon, so it will do some serious damage to tanks. Only thing I'm going to say, good luck getting it to hit. It's only going to hit half the time because it's BS3. The Eradicator is the cheapest Russ at 120 points, again, same stat line, and it has the Eradicator Nova Cannon. Now, the Eradicator Nova Cannon is slightly different in its function compared to the other weapons. It is 36-inch range, so much shorter range, strength 6 AP4, heavy 1, large blast ignores cover, meaning that if you've got Tau Pathfinders stuck in some ruins, this will just annihilate them. If you have units like Space Marine Scouts sniping in a crater that you just can't shift, boom, gone. Dark Eldar using do Ghost Shields vehicles give out cover saves or invulns? I forget. But anything that's using cover save mechanics, nope, you're just dead. Strength 6 AP4, heavy 1, large blast, no complaints there. Now, the remaining 3 are actually slightly different in stat line. The Demolisher has rear armor 11, as does the Punisher and the Executioner, making them that pinch more resistant to being punched in the face by a Space Marine in melee, and resistance to grenades, to deep striking units. So as only tank hunting weapons now can actually really hurt them. So, the Demolisher clocks in at a whopping 170 points, which puts it on par with the Vendetta that I covered in the last episode, and it's armed with the Demolisher Siege Cannon, which, as we know, is 24-inch range, strength 10 EP2, ordnance 1, large blast. If you need a unit of Terminators to die, you hire a Demolisher to do it, because that's just what it does. The Punisher, or as I like to call it sometimes, the Swiss cheese machine, is 140 points, which is not bad. I mean, it's cheaper than a standard Russ, and is armed with the Punisher Gatling Cannon, which is, I believe, 24-inch range. I'll just check the range. I know it's stat line, but I just want to check the range. 24-inch range, strength 5, AP nothing, heavy 20. So if you are, again, Tau, Dark Eldar, things with bad armor saves, you hate this gun, because it's just going to put an absolute truckload of wounds onto you, because low toughness and low armor saves, you're going to fail saves. I don't care who you are. Even Space Marines don't like this gun, because they're being wounded on 3s, but they have good armor saves, so they can get away with it. And then finally, the Executioner, or as Scarcast likes to call it, the Plasmacutioner. even though the Executioner is the only one that packs a plasma. But it has the Executioner plasma cannon, which is basically a 3-shot plasma cannon. I can't really say any more than that, because that's what it is. 36-inch range, I think. Double check. 36-inch range, strength 7 AP2, heavy 3, blast, gets hot. Nothing special. I mean, it's 3 plasma cannons. So, if you are wanting some AP2, this is one of the best ways to get it. And it's a damn sight cheaper than Demolishers. And against anything that's not toughness, well, actually against things that are toughness 4 and multiple wound, it will make a difference. But 3 shots, still a chance to deal 3 wounds per shot to each model. Now, which Russ is the best? Well, on stats alone, it's the Demolisher, the Punisher, and the Executioner. But it really depends on what role you want your Russ to fill. So, if you need anti-infantry, you go Eradicator or Exterminator. You need anti-tank, you go Vanquisher. You need anti-everything, you go a standard Russ. You need anti-Terminator, Demolisher, Executioner. It really depends on what you need. You may take up to 3 Russes in a squadron, in any combination. So you could have 1 battle tank, 1 Vanquisher, and 1 Executioner. I don't know. Any combination. And they don't have to all be different. They can all be the same, they can all be different, with 2 or 1, one or another. Standard procedures apply. Any model may take items from Astra Militarum vehicle equipment. This is probably the one vehicle you could get away with putting relic plating on, because Adamantium Will might just save you from a Doom Bolt to the face, or equivalent psychic power like Molten Beam or something. Other than that, Hunter-Killer Missile can't hurt. Extra armor, if you need to burst an objective, I suppose, could work. Some of the combos with Leman Russes, I think, sometimes can be synergized around Tank Commanders. Now, Tank Commander is obviously an upgrade to your Leman Russ, and make them BS4. And this is obviously best suited to weapons that either scatter or are single shot. So, Executioners love this guy, Demolishers love this guy, Vanquishers adore this guy, whereas the Punisher, I mean, it's great, but it's not the ideal upgrade. Knight Commander Pask is an alternative upgrade, and he can just make every single tank scary. Rending Punishers? Yes, please. Any model may replace a heavy bolter with a heavy flamer for free. No. Too short range for what you want your Russ to do. Or a las cannon for 10 points. This is best suited for things like Vanquishers or Executioners that will be hunting units with a 2+ save or than are vehicles. May take a pair of Sponsons armed with heavy flamers for 10 points. No. Heavy bolters for 20 points. On a Punisher, this is your best combination. Multi-melters for 20 points. Good with the Demolisher. Good with the Executioner. Possibly good with... no, I think they're the best 2. Or Plasma Cannons for 30 points. Best with the Executioner. Best with the Demolisher. And best possibly with the Vanquisher, although they are much shorter range. So, which one you pick, really, if you want them at all, because they do add a significant chunk of points to your Russ. I mean, a Demolisher with Plasmas is 200 points. Ouch. It's a lot of points. So bear that in mind. Hydras, your anti-air. They are 70 points, BS3, front armor 12, side and rear armor 10, 3 whole points. Tank open topped, with 2 twin-linked Hydra autocannons, which is basically 2 twin-linked autocannons with Skyfire. There's no other thing that's special about them. Heavy bolter, searchlight and smoke launchers. The problem with Hydras is that they don't have interceptor, which means that they cannot fire normally at ground targets and are forced to snapfire. Now, you might not think this is such a bad thing, that job's to kill flyers anyway, but if the flyer doesn't arrive till turn 3, as I've come to realise happens a lot, then your Hydra is basically snapfiring for no reason for the first turn or 2. First turn, definitely. So you have to be aware of that. And it dies very quickly, so a enclosed crew compartment is absolutely essential, because otherwise they just will kill it instantly to give you no anti-flyer. May take items for the vehicle equipment, as I've said, enclosed crew compartment, Hunter-Killer Missile maybe, camo netting would be great as well. And may replace its heavy bolter with a heavy flamer? No, because you want your Hydra as far away as possible. Generally, I don't like heavy flamers on vehicles, unless I know they're getting up close and personal, and most of the heavy support vehicles don't. Basilisk, speaking of long-ranged units, it's BS3, it's the same stat line as a Hydra, 3, 12, 10, 10, 3 whole points, but it costs 125 points. It's another open-top tank with a heavy bolter, searchlight and smoke launchers, but it instead packs an Earthshaker cannon, which is very, very powerful. An Earthshaker cannon is 36 to 240 inch range. So that's 3 foot to 20 foot range. Obviously this is best in Apocalypse. Strength 9, AP3, Ordnance 1, Barrage, Large Blast. You cannot hide from this gun. It will just drop pipelets on you, and it can just fire blind if it needs to. The one thing I need to really stress is that minimum range of 36 inches. Now, I don't know exactly if you can fire within minimum range, but you don't get to take your BS off, or whether you can't fire within the minimum range. Either way, it's bad. So, in games that aren't using probably 8-foot tables, this is a bad thing, because on 6x4 tables, your standard board, unless you're dropping it on the opponent's deployment zone, you are basically buggered. In big games, it's brilliant. In small games, I can never find a justifiable excuse to run one. May take up to 3 in a squadron. As you can with Hydras, I may have mentioned that, but I don't think I did. And may take vehicle equipment, again, enclosed crew compartment. Just do it, because otherwise it just dies. And again, heavy bolter for heavy flamer, no. See reasons already stated. The Wyvern, now this is brand new to Codex Astra Militarum. It's the same stat line as the Hydra and the Basilisk, but it only costs 65 points, and it's an open top tank, heavy bolter searchlight smoke launchers, and 2 twin-linked Storm Shard mortars. Storm Shard mortars are actually really powerful. They are 48 inch range, strength 4 AP6, heavy 2, barrage, blast, ignores cover, shred. So if you drop this on a low armor save unit, you have 2 shots that ignore their cover save and reroll to wound, and are templates, and can fire barrage if you can't see them. And you have 2 of these, and they're twin linked. The damage this thing can put out on weak units is scary, how much damage it can put out. But on anything that's probably got a 4+ save or better, it's kind of average. On a 3+ save, it's just dead. But it's really powerful against armies like Tyranids, Orcs, other Guardsmen. Tau, it has its moments, but sometimes it can be a bit mixed. Marines, it's bad. Although, I suppose if you really need to put some covering fire down, it's not that bad. But if you need some heavy power, then you don't run one of these. Now, I used to absolutely adore the Wyvern. I thought it was like the best unit in the Codex for a while, because it could just absolutely annihilate units in one salvo. Then I started playing lots of Space Marines and realised that it was kind of meh. 3 in a squadron maximum. Vehicle equipment, again, enclosed crew compartment, just do it. And heavy bolter for heavy flamer, no. The Manticore. Now, this actually got slightly more expensive. It now costs 170 points instead of 160. I think it used to cost in the old book. Same stat line again, but it's not open topped, it's just a tank. It has heavy bolter, searchlight, smoke launchers, and Storm Eagle rockets. Now, Storm Eagle rocket is scary powerful. Seriously. It's 24 to 120 inch range, so 2 foot to 10 foot. Strength 10 AP4, Ordnance D3, Barrage, Large Blast. So it drops D3 pipelates per rocket at strength 10 AP4. And Barrage, you can fire blind. 2 big problems with this gun. 1, minimum range. It's not as bad as the Basilisk, but it's still bad. And AP4. Why is this gun AP4? Why? Why is this gun AP4? It completely renders the Manticore redundant against Space Marines. It just does. It can't hurt them. It's all well and good wounding on 2s and doing lots of wounds, but you can't negate their armor save? What? No. You have to negate their armor save. I'm sorry. That's not good enough. That needs to be AP3. I don't care if it's not AP2, but I need that to be AP3. It's not good enough, in my opinion. And as a result, I don't like Manticores. Plus, they only have 4 shots in the entire game because of their limited ammunition rule. And I think you can actually destroy individual missiles, meaning that they get even less shots. I'll just triple check that. Yeah, it has 4 rockets, and only 1 rocket will be fired per shooting phase. Until it's used, they each count a separate weapon when determining weapon destroyed. So you can just destroy them. and blow them up on turn 1. You could just get 2 weapon destroyed results, and then it fires, and it's got 1 shot left for the whole game. And then it's left on a heavy bolter. And it's just basically a bad chimera at that point. So, yeah, I don't like Manticores. I wish they were good, but I can't deal with AP4 in Space Marine heavy metas that I play in. I mean, against Tau and everything with the worst armor say than a Space Marine, it's amazing. But for me, considering all my opponents are generally Space Marines, I can't tolerate that AP4. It's a big problem, and I can't deal with it. On the other hand, the Deathstrike Missile Launcher stayed the same, 160 points, and has side armor 12. It is the most resilient artillery piece in the Codex. So, BS3, front 12, side 12, rear 10, 3 hull points, and a tank. No open top shenanigans here. It's got heavy bolter, smoke launchers, and searchlight. Vehicle equipment, camo netting. Pay for camo netting on this thing. Seriously, a 6+ cover save might just save you. Because the Deathstrike Missile is unbelievable. It has 2 special rules associated to this weapon. No ordinary weapon, and the hour is nigh. So, no ordinary weapon. Where is it? A Deathstrike Missile cannot be destroyed by weapon destroyed, only delayed. And similarly, crew stun and shaken do not stop it launching. So you cannot actually just blow this missile off and render the Deathstrike redundant. You can slow it down, but you can't stop it. As per the hour is nigh, which is its other rule. As soon as I find it. I've lost it. I've completely lost it. How did that happen? Huh? Okay. So my reference page does not carry the hour is nigh. That's annoying. So I'm going to have to go back to the Deathstrike page to find it. Sorry about this, folks. Rest assured, though, the Deathstrike actually got slightly better compared to the old Codex, for the simple reason of, well, it's easier to fire than it used to be. I can't put it any simpler than that. Right, here we go. The hour is 9. The Deathstrike Missile Launcher may not fire on the first turn, or if it moved that turn, so you have to keep it still basically the entire time or it's never going to fire. In the shooting phase, if you wish to fire, roll a d6. Each full consecutive game turn in which it has not moved, so on turn 2, +1, assuming you didn't move. Turn 3, +2. Every weapon destroyed applied to the Deathstrike Missile. So let's say your opponent gets 2 weapon destroyeds on it, it's -2. But if you've been on the board for 2 turns, +2. Perfect. If the result is a 4+, the Deathstrike Missile can be fired, and if you roll a 6, no matter how many negative modifiers you have, the missile fires regardless. You could have a -5 penalty, and then roll a 6, and the weapon will fire, which is brilliant. So, is this weapon actually worth it? For one weapon, is it worth all that hassle? Well, if I tell you that the Deathstrike has an unlimited range and only a minimum range of 12 inches, then you immediately see why this is better than a Basilisk. It is Strength 10, AP 1, Ordnance 1, Barrage, Ignores Cover, Apocalyptic Blast, which I believe is 10 inch. I believe that's the 10 inch blast template. It may be the 7, but I don't think it is. It might be the 10 inch. Could be 7. Don't know. One use only, of course. It's one whopping great missile. Which means that when this thing lands, it will just destroy everything. Everything it lands on. Vehicles, being penned easy and being blown up on a 5+. Easy peasy. Units underneath, dead on 2s. Invulns aside. Units carrying in cover, nope. Just vaporized. So, yeah, the Deathstrike is incredibly powerful. And because it fires on a 4+ and will always fire on a 6, this weapon has got a lot of value in it. But is it worth 160 points? Debatably. It's best in Apocalypse games where, of course, it will just wreak maximum havoc. But in small turn games, it can just be the ultimate bullet magnet. Be warned, they can destroy the vehicle it's on. They don't just have to blow the missile. So if they actually just concentrate all their tank firepower on it, they can kill the tank. So you need to protect your tank with everything you've got. Camo netting, covering units, any cover save you can give it. Invisibility, for crying out loud, would do. Just make sure this thing lives. Because if it fires, oh hell will you reap the rewards. Right, so that is my thoughts on the heavy support section. So, the Deathstrike is obviously incredibly powerful. The Manticore is bad because I play Space Marines, otherwise it's great. The Wyvern is great if you don't play Space Marines. The Basilisk is great in Apocalypse, but bad on short-range boards. The Hydra is vulnerable, but will do its job to flyers. And the Leman Russ is the Leman Russ. It does whatever you tell it to do. But beware of becoming too expensive if you invest in it. And that actually concludes the Codex. It's been quite a long slog doing this series. I've realised how long this series has actually taken to do. So, what are my thoughts on the Imperial Guard Codex? How does it stack up? Well, it's balanced, mostly. I can't complain about balance. There are a few units that suck. Every Codex has units that suck. Rough Riders, Ogrins, in our case. They are not good enough to stack up to the rest of the Codex. But then again, it doesn't have any outright OP units. The Vendetta is more balanced than it was. It's still powerful, but it's not broken anymore. Militarum Tempestus got better because their lasguns can now first rank fire and they have command squads. So I think the one word that I would use to describe what you need to do to get the best out of this codex is synergy. You need synergy between your basic units, your command units, your elite units, and your support units, by which I mean your commissars and your priests and your primary psychers, because every list runs them. You need lots of grunts to do the damage. You need a command unit or two to amplify that damage. You need support units to keep them in line and again amplify the damage, and elite units to deal with everything else. And you also need armoured units, but they wouldn't fit on screen, so I can't point them out as well. It's all about creating this synergy. You can't rely on one unit or one group of units to win the game for you. Every single unit has to work together in order to win. Which does mean that you are vulnerable if your orders get silenced. You are in all sorts of trouble. If your executioners get silenced, then you have no way to keep your units in line. If your sergeants disappear, your Voxcaster tests suddenly become a leadership 7. And yes, you can reroll it, but rerollable 7 is bad. If your elite units get silenced, you have no way to deal with those big, scary units. And if your grunts die, well, you've just lost the game because you've got no ball control anymore. I've done a video recently talking about ball control. So, yeah, synergy is the word. Make sure every unit synergizes together, otherwise the whole set will fall apart. Protect your key units, otherwise your remaining units will just be broken and taken apart. And whatever you do, do not let this guy die. Do not lose your company commander at any cost. Because if you do, not only are you giving up warlord points every time because of chain of command, but you are also taking away, bring it down, get back in the fight, fire on my target, extra orders, and just good leadership. You are losing so much if you lose him. So keep him alive at any cost. I don't care what you have to do. So, that concludes Codex analysis for Astra Militarum. If you missed any episodes for the series, I will leave all the links in the description, so go back and watch any that you might have missed. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do you make of this Codex? Is it good, bad, balanced? How would you sum the Codex up? 3 words to describe the Codex. I say synergistic, competent, but breakable. And that's how I'd sum it up. So, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and the entire series. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis, and I will see you again.